Hey guys, it's Jen. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another meal prep video. These videos have been super popular and thank you for all your kind comments. I love making them and I obviously love doing meal prep so that I can set us up for success during the work week. If you're new to my channel, I'm a full-time working mom. I have two kids. Kira is 9 and Connor is 6. My husband works full-time outside the home also. During the week, I like to eat mostly low carb, and so you'll see some of those recipes in here along with some keto recipes. But my family doesn't always eat low carb, and so sometimes you'll see other food items as well. But this weekend is actually Labor Day, and so I'm going to prep a mixture of foods for our Labor Day cookout, as well as some breakfasts, lunches, and snacks that my husband and I can take to work during the week. Before I start, I always like to make a list of what I want to make, and so this week I want to try and make some egg cups for our breakfast, some zucchini chocolate chip bread, that's a low carb recipe, some Greek chicken bowls, buffalo chicken meatballs, some Italian sausage and cauliflower, and then I also want to make some pasta salad for our cookout along with some coleslaw and then wash up our produce. I had taco meat written down there, but I did not end up making that on this particular day. So to start out, I'm going to marinate my chicken. I just have some chicken breast strips that I got from the store here, and I'm going to put those in a shallow dish. One of the more popular comments I've gotten on my videos is that I don't wash my chicken. That's kind of a personal preference, and actually I would encourage you to do some research on that. The USDA does not actually recommend that you wash your chicken. Sometimes I do rinse it if it seems like it needs it, but for the most part, I don't. So anyway, just a personal preference. So to season the chicken, I'm just adding some lemon juice, some olive oil, some seasonings, salt, pepper, a little crushed red pepper, some garlic paste, and some oregano. So this is sort of like a Greek flavored marinade. I will also leave the link to that juicer in the description box below. I've been loving using that. I got it on Amazon. And then once the chicken has sat in the fridge for a couple hours, you could even do it overnight. I just like to saute these in a hot skillet with some olive oil until they are browned on both sides and cooked through. I will also leave a link to the recipe down below that I used to inspire this marinated chicken. The addition of the red pepper flake, I think, really made the dish, and also the oregano gave it a Greek flavor as well. And here in a second, I'll actually show you what I made with some of this grilled chicken, but I usually let it rest for about half an hour just so it's cool and to make sure that all the juices have redistributed. Chop that up, put it in a glass dish, and then you can pour the drippings over the top so it doesn't get dry in the refrigerator. But here's just an example of a Greek chicken bowl that I meal prepped on this particular day, and I took it to work the next day for lunch. So the next thing I'm going to prep is some chicken sausage and cauliflower bowls. I have not made this in a while, and I'm sorry I don't really have a recipe. It's just something that I've made up along the way. I get this chicken sausage from Aldi. It is actually really good. And so I just go ahead and slice that, oil my baking dish, and put it on half of the baking dish. On the other half, I'm going to roast up some of this grilled cauliflower. This comes from the frozen section in Trader Joe's, and it's already partially grilled. So all you have to do is finish roasting it in the oven to warm it up and soften it up a bit. I also added some red peppers that I had cut up in the refrigerator to that and drizzled over a little bit more olive oil. I will roast that in the oven at 425. I set the timer at 18 minutes, but I ended up cooking it an additional 5 minutes. But here is what it looks like when it's done. This would actually be great just on its own if you needed a quick dinner. But it's really good, and what I'm going to do is actually make a marinara sauce and sort of use the cauliflower as a substitute for pasta. So I just have a jarred tomato sauce here. You can use any brand that you like. I poured in a tiny little bit of heavy whipping cream just to make it creamy, and then go ahead and grab your meal prep containers or bowls. These are glass Pyrex meal prep containers. I'll try to find them on Amazon and link them down below. And then just go ahead and ladle in some of your tomato sauce along with the chicken sausage. You can ladle in as much or as little sauce as you want. I probably actually added a little bit too much sauce in these, but that's okay. And then once you get your sauce ladled on, you can just put some mozzarella cheese on the top. And then you can take these to work or have them at home. All you do is heat them up in the microwave and the cheese melts over the top. It's a really great idea to make these if you're trying to cut out pasta or carbs in your diet. Okay, so next I'm going to hard boil some eggs. This is a great meal prep option if you're looking for something high protein. My kids love hard boiled eggs too. Sometimes I meal prep these just to have in the refrigerator, but today I'm actually making deviled eggs with them for our Labor Day cookout. So to cook mine, I actually use my Instant Pot and I use the 5-5-5 method. So I put a cup of water in the bottom of the Instant Pot. I cook the eggs on manual high pressure for 5 minutes. I let it do a natural pressure release for 5 minutes, and then I remove them from the Instant Pot and put them in ice water and soak them for 5 minutes. So this is the best way I've found to make hard-boiled eggs. You can definitely also do them on a stove, but they really do peel a lot easier when you cook them in the Instant Pot for some reason. So how I like to peel my eggs is I just put a paper towel down on the counter to absorb any of the water, and then just kind of use the side of your thumb to peel off the shell. It's helpful if you can kind of get your finger underneath the little membrane that is over the egg, and then if you do that, most of the shell will come off all in one piece. So I'm just going to continue peeling these, and then I'll show you guys how I make my deviled eggs. One tip I also have is to just keep a bowl of cold water handy while you're peeling your eggs. I use that to rinse off the eggs after I'm done peeling them, and you can see the shells down in the bottom of there. And then I just set them on a paper towel to dry off. I'm going to go ahead and slice these in half. I will put the yolks in a bowl, and then I'm just putting the sliced eggs in my deviled egg serving tray. I do not have a link for this. I'm sorry. I got this many years ago from my grandma. It's plastic. It's not very fancy. I think it might be like from Dollar General or something like that. But anyway, I just keep it because it's good to hold deviled eggs. I'm sure you can find something similar online if you're looking for one. So the first step is just to mash up your egg yolks. To mine, I add mayonnaise, salt, pepper, a little bit of yellow mustard, some dill relish, and then I also add a little bit of Splenda for sweetness. And then you can just make sure that you blend up your egg yolk mixture really well, and then just taste it. See if you need additional seasonings, and then just keep adding until it is to your liking. The easiest way to fill up your eggs is just to put all of the yolk mixture in a gallon Ziploc bag, squeeze the air out, cut a tiny corner off of one of the tips, and then just use it as a piping bag to fill up your eggs. If you didn't want to use a plastic bag, you could totally use a spoon as well, but I think this is probably the easiest method. So after these were done, I just went ahead and stored them in the refrigerator for our cookout the following day. These are also an awesome idea for meal prep, and I was just thinking as I was making these that I should definitely make them for meal prep more often because Adam and I could take them to work for snacks. The next thing I am going to work on is some of my egg bites. I make these every week, so I'm sure you guys get tired of watching them, but this week I'm doing a variation and making these with some grated pepper jack cheese and some ham, which I haven't ever done that combination before. Sometimes I make these in the Instant Pot, and sometimes I make them in the oven in muffin cup tins. Since I already had the Instant Pot out for the hard-boiled eggs, I thought it would just be easier to do it in there. So I'll leave a link to this recipe down below, but basically you just put all the ingredients in a big bowl, and then you can use an immersion blender, or if you don't have that, you can use a food processor or a regular blender to blend everything up. I've also gotten a lot of questions on my Cuisinart bowls, the blue one I have there with the spout, and I actually found them on Amazon, so I'll link them down below if you're interested. But once that mixture is combined and all together, you can take your ham and dice it up really fine, put it in the bottom of your molds or your egg cups, and then just pour the egg mixture over the top. I will also leave a link to these silicone molds in the description box below if you're interested. These fit right in the Instant Pot as well. I had a little bit of extra ham there, so I just sprinkled that over the top. Okay, so to cook these, you just put your trivet in the bottom of the Instant Pot, pour in 1 cup of water, and then I'm using also this rack, which does not work all that well, but somehow I finagled it in there to put 2 layers of the egg bites. And then you will actually put this on the steam setting for 8 minutes. So just push the button, wait till it beeps and it tells you that it's on. Let them steam for 8 minutes, and then you do a natural pressure release for 10 minutes. Then let the rest of the steam out, and you can take them out to cool on the counter. I always just store these in a large container, and then we take them out for breakfast during the work week. So I'm not showing all of the produce that I prepped this weekend just because it gets a little repetitive for me showing you guys that every single week. But I did want to cut up some celery. You want to make sure that you wash celery really well after you cut it, because as it grows, the dirt can get trapped in the inner parts. So I like to just cut it up, and then I put it in my salad spinner and soak it in really cold water for about 10 minutes. Once it's soaked, I go ahead and rinse it off, and I will actually store it in a plastic container in some water in the refrigerator. Storing it in water just helps keep the celery really fresh. And if you've watched my videos below, you know that my beloved salad spinner is what I use to wash all of my produce. So I'll also leave a link to that down below if you're interested or you need one. Okay, so for our Labor Day cookout, Adam was going to smoke a brisket, and so I thought it would be really good to have some coleslaw on the side. I went to Aldi and they didn't have any bagged coleslaw, and so I actually chose to buy a head of cabbage, and I'm using the slicing blade on my food processor to shred that all up. So believe it or not, this is actually the first time I have ever shredded cabbage on my own, and I can't say that I want to do it again. It's just so much more convenient to buy the shredded bags of cabbage. But anyway, I got it done. So basically I just quartered and cored the cabbage, and then once I was done shredding it, I put it again in my salad spinner and soaked it in cold water in the sink just to wash everything off. And then I make sure to spin it dry really well. If you're making any type of coleslaw, you just want to make sure that you get all the water off of it. Otherwise, the dressing is already pretty runny, so you don't want your salad to be too runny. But this is the coleslaw recipe that I've been using for years and years. It is the KFC copycat. Actually, you can see I printed this off in 2011. So I've been using it for a long time, and it's my favorite recipe. So you'll need some mayo, your shredded cabbage, some buttermilk. I'm actually just using a little bit of half and half with vinegar to make my own buttermilk. You'll also need some minced onion, some lemon juice, some vinegar, some stevia, or you can use regular sugar if you're not trying to do keto or low carb, and then some salt and some pepper. So to make this, just go ahead and dice your onion up really, really fine. You could leave it in big chunks if you wanted to. I'm not such a huge fan of raw onion, and so I usually try to make sure I chop mine up super fine. Speaking of that, that's another thing I get comments on a lot is my knife, and I will actually leave a link to that down below. It's a really good chef's knife. I always think that it's super important to have a good chef's knife in your arsenal if you do a lot of cooking. So to make the dressing, you're just going to combine the chopped onion or minced onion with your mayonnaise and your buttermilk, your milk, your lemon juice, the vinegar, and then also your stevia, or you could use Splenda or sugar, whatever you'd like to use for the particular diet that you're on right now. I will say that it's probably tastes better with regular sugar, but if you're trying to do low carb, the stevia or Splenda works just fine. So once that's all mixed up, then you can just add your coleslaw and pour the dressing over. The cabbage will wilt down after you add the dressing. So I added most of it, then added my dressing, and then I'll toss that up a little bit and add the rest of the cabbage. If you are making this ahead of time, I would say it's probably safe to make it one day ahead of time, but I wouldn't make it much longer than that. Okay, so the next recipe I'm going to prep is some buffalo chicken meatballs. So for this, you will need some crushed pork rinds, some ground chicken, onion powder, salt, pepper, 1 egg, some green onion, some garlic, some salt, and some hot sauce. You can see also I'm having a beer while I'm making this. I'll leave a link to the original video that I got this recipe from down below. If you are not doing low carb or you're not watching your sugar, you can use regular breadcrumbs. I just used pork rinds because that is what I had on hand for a breadcrumb substitute. But basically, you just want to put everything into the bowl, mince up your green onions. I try to mince these up fairly fine. Add those to the bowl as well. And then add about a 1/4 cup of hot sauce. And then I like to just mix this together with a fork. I think it's the best way to get it combined. Once you're done mixing that up, you can just go ahead and roll that into balls. Put them on a sheet tray. I just lined my sheet tray with parchment paper to make the cleanup a little bit easier, and then we'll bake those off in the oven. So the last step in these meatballs, and you don't want to skip this, is that take some of your extra buffalo wing sauce and just brush them on the meatballs when they're hot and they come out of the oven. This is just a simple step, but I think it really does give them a lot more flavor. Once they cool off, you can go ahead and put them into one of your containers. These are great to have on hand. You can warm them up and eat them as is with dressing, with the blue cheese salad. They are just really delicious. Okay, so the next thing I am making is some chocolate chip zucchini bread from my Keto Made Easy cookbook. I'll link this cookbook down below. But for this recipe, you'll need some eggs. I did not have as many eggs as I needed, so I substituted some sour cream for a couple of the eggs, some baking powder, 1 zucchini. You'll need some stevia drops and some vanilla extract. Also some avocado oil, some coconut flour, and some sugar-free chocolate chips. Those are the Lily's brand. So this recipe calls for grated zucchini. It's very easy to just grate this on a box grater. If you don't have a box grater, I would totally recommend getting one. They are cheap. You can get one at Walmart, and it just makes life so much easier when you're trying to grate vegetables or grate your own cheese. So you'll go ahead and put those, or the grated zucchini, in a bowl and then add your eggs. I didn't have quite enough eggs, so like I said, I substituted some sour cream for the eggs that I didn't have, which I've done in recipes before and it's worked out fine. You also add your oil and your extract and your stevia extract. I want you guys to stay till the end and I'll tell you how we liked this bread. But go ahead and mix up all your wet ingredients, and then you can add the dry ingredients, which is just your coconut flour, your baking powder, and the chocolate chips. Okay, so I'm using my hand-me-down from my grandma, her beloved loaf pan here. This is what I use whenever I make quick breads. I just like to spray that with some cooking spray, add a piece of parchment paper to it, and then spray it again. This makes it super easy to get the loaf of bread out once you're done cooking it. So I just spread that in the loaf pan, making sure that it was even on the top, and then baked it per the directions in the cookbook. Now I have to be real with you guys, we absolutely hated this bread. The taste was totally disgusting and I would not recommend making it. But if you have made it and you had a different outcome, I would also be interested in that. I almost didn't include it, but I wanted to be real with you guys. So anyway, the last thing I'm going to do is just prep some pasta salad for our Labor Day cookout. This is obviously not low carb, but it's still delicious and it's a holiday tradition. So I'm using the Suddenly Salad pasta salad kit, which is something I've used for many years. The dressing is super easy to make. It comes with a seasoning packet and you just add cold water and olive oil. I do like to jazz mine up, and so once I add the pasta into the dressing, I add some cut up black olives along with some cubed cheddar cheese. You could also add chopped red bell pepper. You could add mushrooms. You could add chicken. You could basically add anything you want. It's super easy to dress up. And if you wanted to make this for meal prep, you could also do that as well and throw some grilled chicken in there. So here's a recap of what all I made today. Again, note on the zucchini bread, terrible, do not make again. I would love to see what you guys think about that if you've tried that recipe. I also made all of this food, so I'm just showing you guys at the end kind of what was in my fridge. So I have the pasta salad for the Labor Day cookout. I have my grilled chicken for salads and other meals during the week. I have my ham and pepper jack egg bites. We'll use those for breakfast. My buffalo chicken meatballs to use for meals and salads. I also had some leftover pulled chicken from the night before, which I put some barbecue sauce on. Our celery sticks, our coleslaw for the cookout and for lunches. And then here are a couple salads I prepped. This is the Greek chicken bowl. And then I also prepped a bagged salad from Aldi. It's a sweet kale salad. Here is the cauliflower sausage and peppers and mozzarella cheese. And then also my deviled eggs. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope this gave you some more ideas for your own meal prep. Again, I love making these and I love your comments, so keep them coming. I will see you in my next video. Bye.